Oh gosh, let's hope the Ravens don't get as hurt as they were last year because their whole roster was gone by before they even see our regular season started. Either way, guys, like and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy. Ravens 22 roster grades. And what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Fun NFL. This is the Ravens 2022 roster grades. This should be fun. Like and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy. Baker Mayfield is now a member of the Panthers. Great for him. I think he's a C+ quarterback. So I basically just upgraded their grade and gave him a C+ overall because Baker does make the roster a lot better. Because he is a lot better than Sam Darnold. Because yes, I do think he's a little bit of above average quarterback, and that's a little bit projecting as well. Kind of, but also the fact that he's not going to be as bad as he was last year, number one. And number two, they're not going to win a lot of games, but trust me, Baker won't be the reason they stink. Eddie Goldman signs with the Falcons, 1-year contract. That makes sense. He's a good player. Actually, is good in pass rush, too, so good for the Falcons. And, the Browns got fleeced. Good chance that Jacoby Brissett's going to be their quarterback. Now let's get right into the Ravens roster grade. Of course, the QB, in my opinion, a top 10 guy, Lamar Jackson. He was the number one overall player in terms of the top 100 way back in 2020. Believe it or not. But, yeah, Lamar's still really good. Like, his stats don't say so, but he did throw for almost 3,000 yards. And I believe if he played the whole season, he would have definitely hit 4,000. He did throw 13 interceptions, though, but in his last 2 games, he threw 5 combined. And I guarantee if he didn't have his worst game of his career against the Browns, not only would he only have thrown 9 interceptions, he wouldn't throw the 9. So basically, let's say this: a fourth of his interceptions came in one game. So that's why he's 13. If you didn't want to know, and then as well, he took 38 sacks, not as good, partially because the offensive line was in, partially on him. He didn't have his best pass yards per attempt though. So if you think he's the reason that they're quote unquote not great in the passing game, they're going to be good in the passing game. He was awesome. He only had 382 attempts that's actually better though because that still proves they have a good running game. And when he ran the ball, he would have been on track to go for 1,000 yards if he played the whole season. He did fumble 6 times though. That's not great. He had 18 total touchdowns, 16 total turnovers. Not great, but he had a 70 PFF grade. In my opinion, Lamar's good. You can't really say he's bad at it by any means. He's not the home run, but he's really good. Talon is a good backup. Brent Huntley's another guy there too, and then Anthony Brown's decent too. Okay, now for the quarterback, I'm giving him an A. Basically, in my opinion, Lamar is a very good quarterback, top 10 caliber. When you have a top 10 caliber quarterback, you have an A at that position. I don't think it's A-, but you could give him a grade 4, considering he had his worst year of his career last year. But I still think he's going to be an A caliber quarterback. He's not that A+. He's not top 5. He could be by the end of the year, but for sure he's an A caliber quarterback. Now for the running back position, of course, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are both questionable, both having torn ACLs before the season even started. But both of those guys, Gus Edwards is an incredibly efficient power back, probably the best power back in the NFL in some cases. J.K. Dobbins, I really do like J.K. Dobbins. He had a really productive and very promising rookie season. We'll see what he can do this year. He definitely needs to be the big factor in the passing game. Mike Davis, great in the red zone, very good in the red zone, both running and catching. So you have him there. Not an efficient guy, though, at all. And then Justice Hill, he's, again, good in the receiving game. So they have a very versatile backfield. All those guys can play. Yeah, Justice Hill didn't have a carry this year, but he also didn't. He was on the practice squad, bounced off and on. And he got hurt as well. But I like this running back room. It's going to be good. They're always going to have good running backs. Just a scheme. And they have good running backs. They're good players. I give this running back a B+, from a B+. Yeah, those 2 guys we don't really know about them, but I guarantee I'd say, honestly, you know what? This is a pretty bold prediction. All 3 of those guys will go for over 500 yards. All of them combined. I do think that it's pretty highly. You could say that's a lot. But the thing is, the Ravens run the ball so well, and it's not that, but their backfield is good. It's very versatile, a ton of depth, and their number one, J.K. Dobbins, can get the job done. Yes, they are coming off a tier ACL. You could say it's a B. You know, yeah, I'll give them a B. But overall, I think that's fair. Oh, yeah, that's 29.67 out of 30 for that. And then for B, what is that called? 3. That's 12 plus 3.67 is 14.67 out of 20, which I do think is fair. Now let's get the wide receivers. Okay, not gonna lie, this Ravens receiving core is pretty crap. Rashad Bateman does have the potential to be a #1. Of course, this offensive line is going to be great, so I don't think it's going to be the biggest deal in the world, the fact that they don't have a good receiving core. Yeah, it might hurt them a little, but you got to admit, they have probably the best tight end room in the NFL as well. But Rashad Bateman is their #1 guy. 46 catches, 515 yards, 1 touchdown. Used a lot towards the end of the season. His yak was pretty good at 171 yards in the targets he had, too. His catch percentage was decent. He only had 2 drops, which isn't bad. 36 is his long haul, much longer catch this year, I guarantee it. His PFF grade was, 64.9, but he did not the greatest route runner, but not the worst either. Devin Duvernay, honestly, he's very explosive as well. I don't think he's a good receiver by any means, more of a returning man. But honestly, he's not the worst guy. They don't have a #1. I don't think Rashad Bateman's a #1, but he is their #1 on this team. Devin Duvernay, James Prochet, Tylan Wallace, Jalen Moore, Benjamin Victor, and all the rest of these bums are not good receivers. Devin Duvernay does have potential, but the rest of these guys stink. That's just the opinion on it. The Ravens are kind of screwed in the receiving department. I got to give him a D because it's literally just Rashad Bateman, and Rashad Bateman's a #2 receiver. Like, yeah, could he step up? Definitely. But I don't think it's the fact that, yeah, they have a D receiving core. Probably one of the worst in the NFL, but it doesn't matter when you consider all the other positions. I can't give him a D+. Yeah, you can't have one receiver on your team, and there's, like, really no depth. The other guys are just not good receivers. That's just the truth about it. And I've seen enough where this Ravens receiving core is not the biggest deal in the world. So, yeah, they have a D, but I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world. Like, it's not something to fuss about. 1.67 plus 6 is 7.67 out of 20, which obviously isn't great, but could be could get worse. Tight end now. I mean, is there really much to say about this position for the Ravens? Like, really, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, yes, Nick Boyle has struggled with injury, but he's the best blocking tight end in the NFL. Pure blocking tight end in the NFL when he's out there. And Mark Andrews had 1,361 yards on 107 catches and 9 touchdowns. He's an elite tight end, like top 3, probably 3rd. Charlie Kohler can't block but can catch. Isaiah Likely can't block but can catch. You got Nick Boyle. Mark Andrews can actually block too. That's a very underrated part of his game. But the fact that they have these 2 guys at tight end that will be out there, I guarantee there won't be any more than 2 receivers out there at a time. And you also have Charlie Kohler and Isaiah Likely there as well. This is a very, very, very good tight end room. A+, without a doubt. I don't need to say anything else. 15 out of 15. Now let's get to the offensive line. Okay, now for this offensive line. Ronnie Stanley's good. Like, not when he's on the field, he's elite. But he wasn't on the field. He started 1 game and got hurt. Patrick McCarry, solid, very versatile offensive lineman at tackle. He did give up 4 sacks, but other than that, he wasn't the worst. Didn't really get beat a ton. Tyree Phillips, when he started, he wasn't the worst guy. Wasn't that great, though. Ben Powers in pass block is great. Of course, against 3 technique defenders, he was great in pass protection. Got his hands on him really quick. But other than that, he's not good. He's not powerful in the run game. That's why he's backing up. Tyler Linderbaum, of course, a first-round pick. Stole him after trading Marquise Brown, but he's very good. He's going to be, I would be shocked if he wasn't a great player. Or not, at least a really good player. Tristan Colin, not the worst backup in the NFL. He does his job. He blocks really well in the run game. Pass blocking could be better, but whatever. Kevin Zeitler was elite last year, 75 PFF grade, but he was so good in the run game. Ben Cleveland, good backup. Morgan Moses for the Jets was really solid. Juwan James, you haven't seen in a while, but when he's been out there, he's been decent. Daniel Falili, great for Minnesota as a UDFA in the run game. Struggled in the pass game, but obviously he could be that 6th offensive lineman coming in. But overall, yeah, it's a really good run game. It's a really good offensive line. If you know, Patrick Reichard, probably the best fullback in the NFL. For this offensive line, I'm going to give him an A- because they have 3 surefire, solid players, and their depth is probably the 2nd best in the NFL. And it's just the fact that it meshes really well. The only reason they're not higher than this is just the fact that there's so much unpredictability with this offensive line because some of those guys are very injury prone. You gotta remember that. That's the reason they get the A minus and not the A plus. It comes out of 14.33 out of 15, which is good. Now let's get to this thing we wanted to see, the overall average. Okay, so the average comes out to a B plus, and the points comes out to an 81, which is actually less than. That actually comes out to a B, but let's be honest, this running game is going to be the best in the NFL this year if they stay healthy, which would be knock on wood happens. In passing wise, they're not going to be perfect. They're not going to get the ball to the receivers enough. I guarantee you that. And the tight ends will be great. Overall, this offense is just it fits with the scheme they need. Lamar, they're obviously a run first team, but they're going to have a bottom third passing offense. They're not going to be the 2019 Ravens, I don't think, but I do think their passing game will be very efficient. And Lamar's not going to turn the ball over a lot, and I guarantee when he needs to, he can pass the ball, which is huge. B plus is for this offense. A plus in the run game, like a C minus in the pass game. If they just had two more receivers that are just at least somewhat viable, I could put this team in the A range for offense. Okay, for these inside linebackers, Josh Bynes is probably the best linebacker on this team, to be honest with you. He's shown a lot of promise. He's been solid his whole career, nothing much to say. Patrick Queen, to be honest, has really struggled in pass coverage, but overall, comes to the run game, he's been very good in that facet as well. Malik Harrison, literally just a guy who goes up against running backs, nothing else to say. Christian Welch, very interesting player. I don't know much about Christian Welch. He's third season. Oh, no, this is the guy. Okay. This guy is very, very good at taking on blocks and not getting pummeled. That's about it. Okay, so concluding pass rush, I do think is a pretty. They've always been a decent linebacking core. Last year they weren't great, but of course before they used to be considered one of the best like overall groups. But schematically they've always been decent. I expect them to be decent this year. That's not really the reason this defense is great, though. It's obviously their defensive philosophy. They were not good in pass coverage this year, but they're in run defense. They're really good, and I guarantee without these injuries, their pass defense, in terms of the linebackers, will improve immensely. So B minus, that comes out to a 12 plus 3.33 is 15.33 out of 20. Now let's get to the defensive line. Okay, big for this Ravens defense, Justin Matabuke. He is athletic. Let me put it that way. This dude's an athletic guy. There's a reason he got drafted in the third round. The really big problem with him is he has pretty bad hands. Like, his hands are just bad. Like, it's really rare to see him put him in the right spot, number one. Number two, he doesn't have that power you'd expect for a guy as athletic as him. And they got Khalil McKenzie behind him. He was a 2018 6th-round pick. He hasn't done anything in the NFL. Then you have Michael Pierce. Michael Pierce, one of the best nose tackles up the middle. Of course, he's had a weird last couple of years, but when he's been on the field, he's been really good. Like, that's just the truth. Was with this team before 2019. You got Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell's old, but he still gets to the quarterback, which is kind of crazy, but he's still pretty powerful as well. Travis Jones, of course, the UConn's best prospect in a while. Travis Jones, I really like. Not the greatest. You can get after the quarterback when he needs to, but third-round pick for a reason. Like, elite in the run game. Brent Urban, again, another guy who can get after the quarterback somewhat well, but overall, he's not the best run blocker, and that's about in run defense. But other than that, he's fine. Give this defensive line a B plus. It has really good depth. Calais Campbell's, no offense, kind of washed. Justin Matabuke, like I said, athletic, but that's just about it. And like I said, they have good depth. Michael Pierce is really good, but I just don't think they have the. I don't know what to say, but it's a really good defensive line. Let me put it that way. 4 plus 12. 4 plus 8 is 12 out of 15. Really good. Pass rush time. Okay, for this pass rush, Adafe Owe is their number one guy. He's got to step up to be that for sure, but he's shown he can be really good. If that loads, yeah, 5 sacks as a rookie. Really came on towards the end of the season. Sorry, this Wi-Fi is just absolutely, like, brutal. Like, that's just the truth about it. It's pretty darn bad. So I gotta wait for this. And then they, of course, also have, what is it called? Tyus Bowser also the edge. Like I said, he does everything but get after the quarterback. But I gotta admit, he's not the worst. If you have to blitz him off the edge, he's not the worst, like I said. They have a job recovering from an Achilles injury during the draft process. But when he's out there, he can be really good. I gotta admit that. But he did get hurt. You don't know for sure. He's really good. Vince Beagle even. Vince Beagle's not bad. And like I said, Calais Campbell and Justin Matabuke both have the potential to get at the quarterback along with Brent Urban. And then you also have Dylan Hayes, Dylan Hayes, whatever heck you want to call him. Really good at setting the edge, really good with finesse moves. He has, like, it's just fluid with Dylan Hayes. One of the most underrated guys over the past couple of years with that. He has not been able to convert, though. That's one concern about it at sub-linebacker. But other than that, he cleans up the junk. That's a good Ravens pass rush. Okay, for these Ravens, I'll give them a B. I don't think their pass rush is going to be that great anymore. They just don't have that superstar pass rusher. Like last year, it started to regress a little, and of course, didn't have Matt Judon. But if in 2020, the reason their pass rush was so good was because they had Matt Judon. And the thing is, if you have Matt Judon, your pass rush is better, and obviously they don't have him anymore. But it started to take a little bit of a step back, and I do think they're going to still be good pass rush-wise, but they're not going to be as great as they've been. I still think Adafio is developing. He could definitely lift them up in that A tier if you can really show that he can be that guy, like that big of a difference maker. If he can be that guy, they're an A tier, but right now I have to put him in B. Good. It's a good pass rush. That's 3.67. 3.67 plus 16 is 19.67 out of 25. Good, not super good. Now cornerback time. Of course, their two best cornerback duo in the NFL, arguably. Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters both got hurt. Marcus Peters didn't even play a snap because he tore his ACL in the preseason. Marlon Humphrey, I think he tore his meniscus or something against the Steelers in Week 13. After that, this secondary was absolutely terrible. Like, there's just nothing more to say about it. Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, still one of the best duos in the NFL. Let's see if Jalen, he can come back. Jalen Seymour, though, I honestly don't think he was that bad last year. I just don't think that's at all. With the Ravens, he did his job. I gotta admit that. But their other guys didn't really. Because Jalen Armour-Davis, what is it called? This thing could just load. That would be nice. And then you got Evan Marshall, Demario Williams, Robert Jackson, and all those guys, kind of nobodies. But of course he's a rookie UDFA. But I don't have a lot of really have a lot of confidence in him, because he was really bad with I wouldn't say bad. He really struggled at times for Alabama last year, especially in that national championship game against who the heck was it? George Pickens. He really did struggle against him. And George Pickens, no offense to him, but he's not that great of a receiver. That's just the truth about it. He can't get open deep. His route running isn't good. So I was bashing him about that. But he did. Jalen Armour-Davis did get a little burn there, but I do think if you move him in the slot where he's a lot better, because he's pretty quick. He's just not great over the top, just straight line speed, and his His ball skills aren't good either. So, but I do think Jalen Armour-Davis would be a good slot guy, and I don't think he's the worst cornerback room at all by any means. Okay, the depth on this cornerback room is bad, but it's not the worst. I'll give him a B+. I gotta give him in the A range, because those corners are still good. Like, I know Marcus Peters might not play the whole season, but I still have to admit, that's the best cornerback duo in the NFL, and I'd be shocked if those guys both got hurt again. That's just the truth about it, because that's very frequent when you have two guys that are like that are usually on the field that get hurt both at season-ending injuries and do it back-to-back years. That would just be nuts. But I do think their backups aren't the worst. Like, you don't want Eamon Marshall going out there because he was not good last year. But I do think with those two guys out there, a lot of the other guys will feel secure, and the safeties can come in and help out. So it won't just be all the cornerbacks, but I do think it's a really good cornerback room, especially with those first two guys. Best duo in the league. Nothing more to say about that. That's 15 plus 19.33 out of 20. Now it's time for the safeties. Okay. Kyle Hamilton, I kind of talked about him. Very overreaction in terms of the fact that he is slow. He's not that slow. It would be a little bit of concern if he was like their free half safety, but he won't be because they have Marcus Williams, who's a top 5 free safety. But yeah, Kyle Hamilton's really good. He'll be box safety most likely, and he can guard running backs and tight ends, which is huge. Chuck Clark, big playmaker. He's pretty good. Brandon Stevens, not bad. Geno Stone, not great. Adarius Washington, not great. Tony Jefferson, good veteran. Yeah, It's a pretty darn good safety room. Like, if I had to admit, it'd definitely be in the top half. I don't think it's elite, but it's pretty good. Considering we haven't seen Kyle Hamilton a lot yet, I can't give him that A range, because if Kyle Hamilton just is not good for whatever reason, I can't that's just I don't feel comfortable putting him in elite tier, because they were not elite last year. And yes, you have Marcus Williams. Was he better than Earl Thomas? In some ways, yes, he will be better than Earl Thomas was. But I'm not comfortable putting him. I don't think they're that good. Could be a little bit of an underrated, I'll be honest with you, but I think B+ for them. It's really good safety room. I just don't think it's top tier just yet. So that's 16 out of 20, pretty good. Time for the defensive average. Okay, for this Ravens defense, it comes out to a B at 82 out of 100. But if you know me, I do this Ravens defense will be better. Like, the reason they were bad last year is literally for one reason only. They had nobody in the secondary. That's the reason. The only reason their pass defense was bad. And again, their rush defense was top 3 in the NFL. You got to remember that. So, if you want me to be honest, they're going to have a top 10 pass defense, probably top 5 rush defense. With that all in mind, I think this is an elite defense. And the Ravens always have a good defense, just how it is. And I do think they're going to be really good. Yeah, you got to admit, the talent is not, they're not all talent. It's not like it's some superstar squad of a defense. But it's really solid. There isn't really a hole on this defense, which is a reason they get in the elite tier, and they got some pretty darn good players as well. Now let's get to the special teams. Okay, this special teams unit is the best in the NFL. Jordan Stout, again, surefire he's going to be a good punter. There's nothing more to say. He's a generational punter. Justin Tucker, best kicker ever, probably. Devin Duvernay, good returner, nothing more. Another guy, Nick Moore, is actually a good punter. And as well, a good long snapper. And as well as that, they literally had one play all year where I'm like, that's a bad special teams unit. And that was giving up that touchdown to Keanu Nwangu in week 9. But other than that, they were really good. So, it's a really good special teams unit. I'm giving them an A because I'll be honest with you, they were really good again. But the fact, they weren't that, big of a difference as they usually are. Just for the fact that they took a little bit of a step back, I'll be honest with you, in terms of, how many big plays they made as a unit. But overall, it's not, they're still really darn good at special teams. So that's 3.33 out of 10. Time for the depth. Cornerback depth is kind of ridiculous because all those guys fit the mold of Lamar Jackson, which is huge. Running back depth is a B+, honestly. No, A. Wide receiver depth is F, obviously. Tight end, A+ depth. Offensive line depth, A depth. Overall, this offense probably has an A- depth. Linebacker depth is a C+, C range. Defensive line depth is a B+. Pass rush depth, B+. Quarterback depth, C+. Safety depth, A-. Overall, this depth is a B+. So I said an A- here. I'll give him a B+. I'll give him an A- for depth because the Ravens always are a deep team, which is huge. A-, that comes out to a what is it called? 20, right? Yeah, 20 plus. Oh yeah, 24.33 out of 25. Really good depth. It's the overall grade time. Okay, the overall points is a whopping 197 at 235. That's a whole lot of points. Do I think they're an A roster? No, I'll give them an A-. Their roster is really good. In terms of the points, like I said, depth is huge. They have one of the best depth. They're one of the most deep teams in the NFL. Their special teams unit's good. Their defense is really good. Their offense is solid. Other than their wide receiving core, there's nothing to complain about on this roster. And literally other than that, they have four positions in the A tier, which are really good. It's high B's mostly, one low B, one middle B. This is a really darn good roster. I'll just be honest with you on that. The injury is a little bit of a concern. I do not think they are gonna be the best roster in the NFL. Just the fact you look at it, they're not that. 0.33 to 30 is a little bit of a problem. I'll be honest with you on that. I might edit that next year, but obviously, this is a really talented roster. They're not the best team in the NFL. Definitely not the best roster, but they got a really good roster.
Flacco throws. Down the middle, he's got it. Elijah Moore. The 20. The 10. The 5.